Hello, you are listening to the Gamer Librarian Podcast, the best podcast you can find on this side of the multiverse. I am your host, Adrian, and today we're celebrating 20 episodes. That's pretty cool, if you ask me. Now, today, I'll be talking about so many things, and I'm really excited to share all of them with you listening. Afterwards, be sure to subscribe to be notified when future episodes are released, and show your support by liking and leaving a comment. Thank you for joining. Now, if you haven't heard, for fans of following Dragon Age or Mass Effect, any fans of BioWare, they recently just announced that they are sadly, at the very least, um, departing with 50 employees, or they're laying off a few of their um, lead writers and developers from the games, especially the ones that they're working on right now, being Dragon Age Dreadwolf and the highly anticipated Mass Effect 4. And I am really upset over the state that EA has let BioWare become. And that's just because in the last few years, you can definitely see the dip in quality that BioWare has put out in all of their games, all of them. Um, I've been a big fan of lot of their games. You know, even if you don't like Mass Effect 3 or Dragon Age 2, then that's all right. You know, but I think like the games after that, Andromeda, Anthem, um, those games surely disappointed in a lot of ways, a lot of ways, and I really don't want to see that again for any of these other future games that are coming out, especially Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which was announced a few years ago and is already a part of a very large fan base, like a beloved community. Three games that just are really great in terms of their scope and what they deliver as experiences for RPGs. I think they're really great. Now, BioWare did put out that they are doing this to ensure that the quality of Dreadwolf and the future Mass Effect game are up to what the fans are expecting. And that's as face value as that comes. That's as plain and on the nose as they can just ever say it. I mean, I imagine the crunch time that Dragon Age is probably going through, maybe, because we haven't seen gameplay for it, so I don't imagine it's in that bad of a shape that they're just not even showing it. But I'm not as worried for that. For one, just dislike how often they keep mentioning that they're working on a newer Mass Effect rather than just, letting Dragon Age be its own, um, give its own time, because it's been 10 years since we even got Inquisition, and we did get like a Netflix show a little while ago, and there's been a slew of newer, like, I think, comics and maybe not novels, but we've gotten quite a lot of material for Dragon Age, but not in the games department, and people are really burned over Andromeda. I, for one, I liked the way that Mass Effect 3 ended. I think that's a nice capstone to a world that's, beloved, but, we shouldn't really need to go back to, just because there's not all that much we really need to say about that kind of series. Like, other than prequels, like anything set after Mass Effect 3 is just kind of mute, after that feeling. Andromeda's okay. It's like a decent attempt as like a side story, but it doesn't deliver on all the Mass Effect like characters, worlds, races, the same experience that we even remember from the base games. So I'm just, I'm let down. I'm really let down by, not really BioWare. I'm always gonna blame EA, because they're the ones that are just mismanaging them, you know. And it seems like they're doing it a lot more with these layoffs and just letting all their more experienced people just go, and that's really rough. That really is. So I hope that, the people that are affected by this decision are in a comfortable state and they're okay, because that seems really hard. That really does. That's always something that was like drove me to just not be a video game developer, was that disconnect, or that inability to really affect decisions like that, like on yourself. You know, as a developer, you don't really have a say in um who gets to be hired at a company and all that. You just kind of got to work there. That really seems like a tough thing. But I am still looking forward to what they announced for Dreadwolf. I don't think it'll disappoint in any way. I certainly don't think it'll come out in a state similar to like Cyberpunk or Andromeda. I don't think so. I think they'd probably learn the lesson this time around, but we'll just have to go wait and see. Um, I especially want to equate that to games like Starfield that's coming out, because this is probably in the same boat. Starfield is a much larger scope kind of game with the same kind of big name developer pedigree behind it. I think they share a lot of similarities in what kind of expectations and that we can experience for a game like that. And that's really just it, for the Dragon Age stuff. I'll put a link to where you could read the article yourself if you're. I'm hoping for a Dragon Age trailer to be shown off at the Game Awards this year, which was said to be coming December 7th this year, which is pretty good. That's pretty soon, around the same time that they do it last year, and the year before, I'm pretty sure. And Jeff Keighley announced that at the Gamescom that's happening this week. We're on our third day as of this recording, and that was pretty nice to have that announcement at the same time. I wasn't expecting that. I thought it would be like kind of more like a shadow drop. I didn't really know Jeff Keighley was hosting it. I don't remember him doing it last year. Maybe I missed it last year. Um, but sadly, his event this time was again, he was accosted by another Bill Clinton fan, or whatever the hell is going on with the people that keep coming up on stage. I'm so baffled that happened the second time. That's really old news, so everyone has heard about that. But that's really shocking that the security was so lax this time to have this guy up on stage, literally next to the host, just there. It's really wild. People are really bold. Um, but Gamescom has a bunch of announcements, at least in terms of like updates for games. We're not getting so much like new trailers for a lot of things. We did, but not so many like bigger titles or the bigger company kind of published stuff. This is more like your much smaller, more indie kind of dev department. But we got updates for things like Diablo, Diablo 2 or Diablo 4 Season 2, Season of Blood was announced to be coming around shortly after the end of Season 1, I think in October, which is the same time this one ends, Season 1. And that's pretty cool. I kind of thought we'd probably be waiting till like November or December for Season 2 to start, at the very least. But that's pretty dope. We're gonna have like a kind of vampire centered DLC, and I'm gonna have to finish the first one. I'm about halfway through the first season. It's all right. It adds a lot of few cooler like twist on missions, like its own little story and stuff. And I've been playing the sorcerer, been doing strictly ice spells just for the fun of it. Only around like level 35, 36, and that's been really fun. So I'm looking forward to see what they add on for season 2 of that. And we got some Alan Wake like live action trailer. Like I think they got even like live action going on in the game that they were talking about. That's an instant purchase. I know it's on Game Pass, but I do want to play it on like the PS5, because that's it's like a similar better console, just for graphics. And I do kind of want to just see how it is on like a better system, the Xbox S, and just to own it. I pay for Game Pass, but like still, I'll probably see how it is on Game Pass. How it runs and looks. Maybe I'll buy it on the PS5 just later on. Um, but then we got some Mortal Kombat 1 and Tekken 8 story mode like stuff. That was really cool. Those games are also like instant purchases for me, to be honest. I'm not really like following up on them all that much. I know a whole bunch of characters and betas have been going on for these kind of games. I've just been kind of just waiting for the launch. But I will plug in someone who's deeply got me into fighting games for the last few years, and that's Maximilian Dude. I mean, he's like a big inspiration for me, like starting the podcast and just being more aware of fighting games and how they're made and the huge fan base behind them. Not just people who still play them to this day, fighting games that came out from the 70s, I think, 80s, 90s, the early arcade stuff, and then it's really crazy just to see how big the fighting game scene grows for not just the most larger games that's come out, like Street Fighter 6 blew up after Street Fighter 5's kind of flop, and we got the really big return of Mortal Kombat fighting games since, or for the fighting game community since Mortal Kombat 9. Tekken 8 has just been crushing it. I kind of tune in every Evo just to watch Max, but like he's been a big inspiration to me starting this podcast and got me into fighting games, like being more aware, trying to play them more. Smaller titles have been being really big for their own fighting game scene. So yeah, shout out to him because I think he's a big influence to the fighting game scene right there, just because of how aware he is of like how the games are made and the scope. So yeah, shout out to him. We got Cyberpunk DLC being shown off. That's pretty cool because I saw in Barnes and Noble that they have Cyberpunk related novels. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to read and talk about here at some point. But Cyberpunk's going to be a game I'm going to try out again. I'm going to play it the second time and probably try out the DLC. I don't know when though. I don't think I'm going to rebuy that game because I returned it when all the console uh, companies were allowing like returns for Cyberpunk. So I'm probably gonna get a brand new copy, maybe like a physical version for really cheap, and then just buy the DLC. That's probably what I'll do. Um, and Call of Duty 3 was revealed, which is pretty nice. Mostly just campaign, like visual stuff. It has been teased that there's going to be zombies, which is the only real like thing that gets me to return for Call of Duty games. I am a massive fan of like the original zombie experience. I still enjoy all the side stuff that they do. I still think it's fun. You know, even Ghost, like little alien mode, and Infinity Wars, like different movie style stuff. Those are all fun. They absolutely are. The Easter egg experience spawned like such a massive, massive community online. But I don't really play those as much. I do give them experience, but those are the only real reasons that I ever buy a Call of Duty game is zombies. Now, I will say that I never bought Modern Warfare 2 Remake because I knew that it wasn't going to be just like the first game, like the first Modern Warfare 2, and it wasn't. It didn't have the multiplayer maps. I don't know so much about the campaign, but it just really wasn't like the same kind of experience. And it seems like they're going to do it this time for Modern Warfare 3, uh, which is pretty dope. But then that kind of like invalidates the Modern Warfare 3 that came out prior as well, which I liked. You know, that introduced the game mode with the dog tags where you pick those up after you get a kill, and you can pick up your teammates. That was really fun. That has some really good maps like Dome. I definitely think Modern Warfare 3 shouldn't just be like sidelined like that. And neither should Modern Warfare 2. You know, it's very weird how they're doing this because if you look at like this kind of series, you know, if they just waited maybe like 2 or 3 years and just made like a blackout kind of free to play game called Modern Warfare, the Call of Duty or something like that, and they just do like 3 seasons, 3 years of Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3 of content, that'd be sick. That'd be really dope. That would be like an ultimate like experience for a multiplayer online shooter game. That'd be really dope. And they could add like zombies later on, you know, like remake some maps to look like zombies. I don't know. That's that's just something that like I think the shooter genre like definitely benefits for going free to play, just like fighting games or a lot of others like games that require people to be playing online or go through some battle pass or something like that. That's definitely like a nice caveat to have, you know. Um, we got some, I think, gameplay, like cinematic gameplay. It was all like very trailerish for Assassin's Creed Mirage. I'm gonna wait on that. I disliked Assassin's Creed 1 like the first time around when it at first ever came out, and this seems like kind of like a retelling of that, and I'm not really gonna buy it just for that, but I don't really want to buy Assassin's Creed games day one just because they're so massive. They're so massive in scope and size. I could barely finish Odyssey and Origins just because they're so big. Just to explore and do all the side quests and everything like that, they're just so massive, you know. Assassin's Creed gotten so big, and I feel like for how big it's gotten, you know, and how often they make these games, and like definitely how little they change, it's so jarring how the fans have treated these games for a while because seems like they're either super loved or super hated. So I guess that's how it signs of like a really good game. It's just how whether or not it's really good or really bad. And there's still people who love it or hate it. That's pretty cool for the Assassin's Creed going on so long. I I feel like Assassin's Creed might have benefited from a lot more newer like mechanics, not for climbing and stealthing or I actually remember their multiplayer for like Assassin's Creed 3 being really fun. You know, that was pretty nice to have back when games weren't necessarily good having a multiplayer. I thought that was really nice. But he was looking at Assassin's Creed Mirage. They put out like I think a trailer for Assassin's Creed Jade, which is a mobile game. And we're still in the age of getting two of the same game, just one on mobile, one as a console. And I hope people play the mobile game. I won't. That's just me. Killing Floor 3 was announced. I love Killing Floor 3. Like I said, I love zombie games, just like from Call of Duty. And Killing Floor is just that, but like a little different, more of a horde style kind of survival game. Just for like the sake of getting, not like secret or Easter eggs or stuff, but just like surviving to like rounds and stuff like that. There's not many massive lore stuff. I think a much smaller company. I'm not really sure who makes them. I'll look that up. But I think that I'm definitely gonna buy that game day one. I didn't buy Killing Floor 2 day one, and I barely played much of that. But I played a lot of Killing Floor 1 just when I first got my ever computer, um, and that was pretty cool. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. Age of Empires 4 was announced for, I think, Game Pass. I got it on Game Pass, but I think it was on PC for a little while ago. So I was like, oh, I thought this game was kind of already out. But that's pretty cool. It's on Game Pass. I downloaded it, and it's okay. Um, it doesn't really like look all that great, at least on the Series S that I have it on. Um, but that's not really to discount that. You know, it's an RTS game. But that's a decent game from what I've played with a little bit of it for now. We also had an announcement for Little Nightmares 3. The first two games were really great, but this one has co-op, which is really nice because I don't think the second game had co-op. It had like a little AI companion that you could also control as a single player. So it's pretty nice to see that those games have really blown up. Because it's always nice seeing those like every 2 years. I think that's now that we see them. Definitely going to be playing that game. And yeah, so what we have next is just Game Awards stuff coming on the road. Today they even just put out some trailers for the Warhammer games, Rogue Trader and Space Marine 2, which look pretty cool. They announced co-op for Rogue Trader, which is really awesome. So I'm very excited for that. Those are gaming games I'm purchasing day one. I still have to finish Space Marine 1, if you remember from a few episodes back, or I started my playthrough for that. Very exciting. And now let's talk about. They also put out Sonic Frontiers DLC for that. They announced that, which is really cryptic what they're announcing for it. We didn't really see much of it. It was like a cinematic trailer, but I'm excited. It's free, which is pretty dope. So that's even better that it's a free DLC. And apparently, it's supposed to have new levels and playable characters, which I think are probably just Amy, Knuckles, and Tails from what I saw online. But it kind of seemed like it might like also include Shadow, which maybe. I mean, I feel like why not? Like even as like a small skin or something. Like this just seems like the perfect thing to do. But who knows? I did play the whole game. I finished the entire thing from start to finish. In no way will I ever 100% it because there is just a lot to do. You know, I don't even have that many of the like eggs to level up your stuff or much of the keys from the levels. A lot of the levels are pretty hard. when it comes to like trying to do the time trials for some decent runs. The the combat for Sonic Frontiers is, very simplistic. It just boils down to like hit the enemy, do a staggering amount of combos, and you could pretty much just like loop bosses into just infinite damage for a little bit, which is all right. Um, but it was really enjoyable for what it delivered. Like I said last episode, I think that it would really be beneficial for this game to like be like the building blocks for newer Sonic games. At least the engine that they had, like 3D Sonic games, I think the engine really helped for this, and it felt like there's a lot of potential for this game because maybe not so much with the camera, that could probably definitely be improved, but for both the combat that it offered and the mobility that you have just in terms of the free running and the wall running and then the camera movement from 3D to like 2D kind of platform and then that kind of stuff. That was really fun to do that on the overworld. Now the overworld is what I had the biggest issue with just because they don't really resemble a lot of Sonic worlds just in their own regard. Like it's a generic forest, like a human, like Earth kind of forest. It has like a generic desert and like mountain with like volcanoes, and it didn't really feel like it was all that special each place. It takes place in like a virtual alien world, like the ancients are gone or whatever for the Sonic lore, but there's only like key places to explore or like even like notable locations from the Sonic universe to just kind of like be around, which is a little disappointing. But Eggman's in it. He's not really a boss. He's just a guy who's in the story, and then he helps Sonic in the end. So okay, which I think the DLC might be for Eggman stuff. I hope, but this game, I would have felt pretty burned if I bought it at full price, if I had to be fully honest, just because it definitely didn't feel all that finished. It felt like it was just kind of put out, especially when I got it for the price it was and the updates that were in it. It just kind of felt, kind of mid. But I do think it has absolute potential to be a really good Sonic game. So Sonic Frontiers 2 is probably going to be um, up there for something that I'm really looking forward to, at least in terms of like what could be absolutely new. I'm hoping it just won't be like a Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom kind of thing where, you know, maybe not so much like the creativity and like the customization stuff was added to it, but like just the overall like look and like the overall like AI and the like the core of the game just never changed. So that's probably what I'm looking forward to most for maybe Sonic Frontiers 2. And that's really about it for like upcoming games. We have a lot of games coming out in the corner for like Armored Core, which I'm unsure if I'm going to be getting that anytime soon. It comes out at the time of this recording tonight, and then we have Baldur's Gate and Starfield and Spider-Man shortly after that in October. A lot of games, a lot of games. I also read a book. That book was the Elder Scrolls tie-in to the Oblivion games. It's set after Elder Scrolls Oblivion. The book is Elder Scrolls The Infernal City by Greg Keyes, and that was really enjoyable. Um, it was a little hard to follow with like its characters. That's just me. I always have an issue with like, remembering names and faces and races, especially when it comes to like all these different races and Elder Scrolls. Like just remembering that on the basis is a little difficult. But I enjoyed the overall story of it. It follows multiple characters, so you go all across different kind of places. For the most part, in the world of Tamriel and the Elder Scrolls universe, and you get a lot of flavor. There's a lot of different characters, a lot of different kinds of interactions and moments. Some characters get uh like technically held hostage and forced to cook in like slave kitchens for a little bit. There's like these weird bug creatures who like use regular people, like the regular races of Tamriel, as like host slaves. That was kind of weird. I'm not all up on like the Elder Scrolls lore or anything like that. So whatever like sounded new just from the book just sounded new in general. Because I don't really remember all the lore since Morrowind and Oblivion and then Skyrim, and then not even to mention the online MMO. Not to mention that like the books came out just I think right after Oblivion, so there's no influence from the later stuff. But still, I don't remember all that much lore. I just experienced the games for what they are. But there's a sequel to this book. I'm gonna try and pick that up at some point. Because I really enjoyed it. I want to see where the story goes because it leaves on a really intense cliffhanger, in my opinion. A lot of loose ends are like figured out, but also continue going. So like, there's even more for how like they're gonna connect for the overall story in terms of the sequel. So that's just me. So that was really fun for reading that book. And there's a whole lot of stuff that's gonna be coming out later on this year. So I'm really looking forward to playing those. And that's generally about it, you know. Um, there's not really much else to talk about that's, I think, happening right now. It's been pretty hectic, working everything, just doing what I can, getting these out every week for you guys. I think this is a good time to put it out on a Thursday. So for anybody who's looking forward to playing any of these games coming out, Diablo, Mortal Kombat, Tekken, Killing Floor, Little Nightmares, or even whether or not you're gonna buy Dragon Age at launch just because you gonna experience it from day one like me. I'll probably even skip work. I'll probably even skip work just to play Dragon Age Dreadwolf. So, if you guys are gonna do that, let me know. And that's really just about it. This has been episode 20 of the Gamer Librarian podcast. Be sure to subscribe for updates on future episode releases. Leave a like and comment on what games or books I should talk about in the future. Thank you, and see you next time.